So I'm going to walk through my demonstration app now and just show you something and just talk about how it's put together. Here I have my web browser on my virtual machine. Let's just go full screen on that. And I'm requesting my web start application. I changed the port because I have lots of versions of Uniface. And I'm loading the boot main component. And this gives me what I showed you in that diagram earlier. We're saying the first thing we do is show the login form. So this is my login form. It's remembered my username from before. I can type an invalid username, sign in. My standard alert component has displayed a message. I put a little bit of JavaScript to actually allow you to dismiss that. It's gone. I can type in a good password with a handy hint. I don't recommend you do that. And here we see our screen. So we've got some navigation at the top. We've got a pull-down menu with some options. I won't log out yet, but you can see that. And a basic page that we've loaded in with some fields. I can put a message or an alert. Click that. I see an alert. I can cancel that. Just to prove that I haven't mocked this up, I'll change the description. There you go. You can see that. Now, I talked about responsive. Let me just show you that. If I scroll that down, there you go, shrink that and keep shrinking it a little bit, we will see, there you go. That has changed to a hamburger menu. And should I choose to do the alert, you can see it just fits in that page. It'll wrap it if it's not big enough. So all of that is available. Let's also play about with the CSS on this a little bit. I'm going to use my browser debugger to look at that icon. So we have that person icon here that I just clicked on. And we can see a class here on this element called FA user. This is font awesome. So I'm just literally saying, show me the user icon. And it will show me based on my font size. I can even see in my debugger here where that comes from. It comes from my font awesome CSS that I've loaded in my main page. I can even have fun and just see what it would look like if I changed the color. If I could type. There you go. I've just changed that to yellow. So let's have a look behind here and see what's going on. This will be a sample that we'll develop in the next lectures, but you can also use this to kind of as a shell for building your own applications. So let's look in the development environment at boot main. This is the main form that we requested. So as you can see, we've got some HTML here. At the top, just the resources we're loading in. In this case, I'm loading some of these frameworks from an external site. You could, of course, choose to host that yourself. And I've got some of my own JavaScript and so on. And then all I've got is one field here, container, on a form. You can see it's got the DSP container widget. And literally by assigning a different instance name of that component, I'm just changing my page. You can see in the HTML here, we're tying that up literally by Uniface field, U field colon, container, it's the field name, form is the model name, or the package if you like, and UI is the, it's container field in the form entity or table in the UI model. And the code, very straightforward. When we execute the form, we're just saying container equals boot login. We're loading in the login page. The public web here just says that I am actually allowed to access this from a web browser. If I don't put that in, it won't be available. That's a security feature. So the login, let's have a look at that quickly. Now the header will actually be ignored because it's taken from the parent. We can actually inject it via code if we want to add other things, but we'll leave that for now. Here is some layout. The key thing here is I've got an email, Again, Uniface field email.form, password painted, the remember me, and there's a sign in button here. Now here we've used an HTML button, and I've just got some code that when you click it, it's activating, in this case, some JavaScript. It could just be a trigger with some Uniface code. Either will work, and it's just running the login operation. The login operation will simply validate that I actually exist as a user, and if there's a problem, we're just telling the alert DSP to show an error. Once they're authenticated, we're creating an authenticated session. Now what we're doing there, I can actually show you this, is saving the login information in the session information of Tomcat. The reason we're doing it this way is so that if we put it in the user interface or a cookie, somebody who knows what they're doing could change it. This way it's hidden to the user. It's on the server, they can't see it. And there's various features here to prevent people stealing IDs, where we change the session and go into and get a new session, and although we've got access to the previous information, they can't use the old ID anymore to pretend they're me and to steal my identity. I won't go into the details, but this is the sort of thing that you will typically do. So once you're logged in, effectively all we're doing is we're going back to the main page, and we're activating a method on there to say you're authenticated. Let's just briefly look at it. That operation says show application, I'm ready to go. All show application does, clears any message that was there and loads in the navigation component. The navigation component, hardly any surprises here really, contains the navigation. So if I were to do it pure HTML, you can see it commented out here. I'm highlighting it. Let me just try and expand that size so you can read it a bit better. There you go. It's an unordered list in HTML terms with a nav class that just causes it to look like a navigation bar. And each list item just has a link to various things. Now, being Uniface, I've just got an entity here called nav, and I'm actually just creating multiple occurrences of those in standard Uniface code and just painting that, and because we've got an entity occurrence and a field painted, it just creates the links for me. If I look at the code for that, just to prove that to you, LP build nav, there you go. It's using pre-compiler tricks here, but basically I'm just creating a new occurrence and adding an item in, home, about and contact. Simple as that. And these are defined as flat buttons, and the detail trigger has some JavaScript code here just to highlight things when you click on it, but above commented out is the Uniface code for doing the same thing. When you click it, I'm just displaying a message. So again, nothing really complicated here. The nav itself actually has its own container, so that when you click on a navigation, you want to change what's displayed there. So literally down the bottom here, you'll see I've got my alert reused, and I've got my container here, and just simply by assigning the name of the one we want to load, in this case I've called it boot page, we'll see that in here. In the execute trigger, here you are, container.form is boot page, we're loading in that page in there. Very quick look, how are we doing for time? Yeah, a very quick look at the alert file form. Literally, we've got a message area. Attributes only allows me to just literally link this to the field. And I'm saying it's by default display none. And when there's an error, when there's a message to display, we're just in code, you can do it in Uniface or JavaScript code, we're just changing that to display. And we've got fields, message and description, and if you call the show error operation, it literally takes them as parameters, and all we're doing is calling a bit of JavaScript to actually format that alert. You can see that in here, there you go. So literally I'm getting the field and I'm just saying set the HTML class to a different class. very straightforward. Now I know this is a quick run through, but you can actually download all of this and look at it in your own time. So, and again, if you have any questions, ask on Uniface Info. The only other thing really to talk to you about a bit briefly is the page itself. The way it works, if you paint things in Uniface, I can just copy as HTML and I can paste it in here. Let's do it here. I've got some commented out examples there, but that would do it as a table. I can do it unformatted. Here I've actually changed it and put some styling around it to just say group it up together, use 2 columns for the labels, use 10 columns for the actual values. And the key thing you'd want to do here is we've got some standard state logic, set state, which I've replaced with my own include proc here. And that include proc, I've modified it slightly so that if I define a precompiler switch, here you go, if it's external HTML, let me just expand that a bit for you. If it's external HTML, use the component name to look in a file, .hts. So when we do the web layout, which we normally do, it will just do it from internal storage. If I tell it to build it from a file name, it will go and look in the external file. And there is a property on my form where I can actually set, do I want to use the internal editor? If I tell it use external storage, it'll say, do you want to save that to a file? That's all you do. So I have that here, just to show you it very quickly. There you go, that's the file, and we're using that. So these are just standard architectural things. You'll probably want to change your Uniface defaults to do that. That pretty much wraps it up for me, for now. So, as I say, take a look at this in your own time. But if anyone has any questions, do we have any coming in as we're going through, Adrian?
No questions.
I think take a look at it in your own time. As I say, there's another framework up there on GitHub. It has some features that are not in this, but I would recommend taking a look at the simple starter application that this is, and we're going to expand on that, and then take things out of the other frameworks and use them in yours. Otherwise, I think you run the risk of complicating your application with things you don't need. So that would be my advice going forwards. In the next week or so, we'll have all the installer up and running, and we'll make sure everything is up there for you to try this out and use it. So if you want to do that and you've got any issues, feel free to comment on Uniface Info. We'll monitor it and assist you if you need to. And as I say, in the next lecture, we'll start looking at some of those techniques I talked about for the user interface and how we do that and how we build things. Okay, so...
All right, thanks, Dave. Thanks to everybody. So just to recap, this presentation will be up on SlideShare shortly. Recording will be made available on YouTube in the next week or so, and the next session will be in 1 month's time. We'll cover development in a little bit more detail, and as we've talked, questions most welcome. Please put them up on uniface.info and we will pick them up quickly. Thank you everybody for attending, and we'll talk to you all next time. And thanks, Dave. Good job.